Hey guys, tonight we begin with something a little darker. Those peaceful meditation retreats you see advertised. Complete amateur hour. We're diving into the secret Egyptian soul surgery clinics, where they could literally repair damaged spirits and reconstruct broken consciousness. Forget the gentle healing sessions Hollywood sold you. The truth is, you probably wouldn't survive watching an actual Egyptian soul surgery, let alone needing one yourself. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations! You've just woken up in ancient Egypt with what they call soul fragmentation syndrome. Your spirit has been shattered by trauma so severe that ordinary healing can't reach it. The good news? Egypt has developed surgical techniques for consciousness itself, capable of rebuilding damaged souls from the ground up. The bad news? Soul surgery involves temporarily disassembling your entire identity, and there's always a chance you won't recognize yourself when they put you back together. Welcome to the hidden world of Egyptian soul surgery, where consciousness itself becomes the patient and your spirit goes under the knife. You're standing outside what appears to be an ordinary limestone building in Memphis, but the strange vibrations you feel in your chest suggest this is anything but normal. This is the entrance to Ket Basse Bay, one of Egypt's most secretive soul surgery facilities, where they've been performing consciousness reconstruction operations for over 2,000 years. The building above ground serves as a screening center where potential patients undergo what they call spirit assessment, a process that determines whether your soul damage is severe enough to warrant surgical intervention. Not everyone qualifies for soul surgery. In fact, most people with spiritual injuries can be healed through conventional temple treatments. Soul surgery is reserved for cases where the consciousness itself has been fundamentally broken. You're led through a series of chambers where scribes document your spiritual symptoms with disturbing precision. They record not just your emotional state, but the specific ways your soul energy flows differently from healthy patterns. Using techniques that seem impossibly advanced, they map the exact locations where your consciousness has been fractured, creating detailed charts of spiritual damage that look like medical diagrams of broken bones. The intake process reveals that Egyptian soul surgeons recognize 7 distinct types of consciousness trauma. Soul fragmentation occurs when severe shock splits the spirit into disconnected pieces. Identity dissolution happens when repeated trauma erases core personality structures. Memory cascade failure involves the collapse of consciousness organization systems. Emotional inversion creates states where positive feelings become sources of pain. Reality dissociation separates the soul from its ability to process physical world information. Purpose extinction eliminates the spirit's connection to meaning and direction. And consciousness parasitism involves foreign spiritual entities that have attached to and are consuming your soul energy. Your assessment reveals a combination of soul fragmentation and identity dissolution, apparently the result of experiences so overwhelming that your consciousness simply couldn't maintain its structural integrity. The examining scribe explains that this type of damage typically requires what they call complete consciousness reconstruction, essentially rebuilding your entire spiritual identity from foundational elements. As you descend deeper into the facility, the architecture becomes increasingly strange. The walls are covered with hieroglyphic diagrams showing the internal structure of human consciousness, mapped with the same precision that modern medicine uses for anatomy. These aren't symbolic representations. They're literal blueprints for soul surgery, showing exactly how consciousness is organized and how it can be safely disassembled and reconstructed. The deeper chambers contain what look like operating theaters, but instead of surgical instruments, you see arrangements of crystals, metal frameworks that seem to bend space around them, and pools of liquid that reflects not your physical appearance, but the current state of your soul. The surgical tools for consciousness work operate on principles that make your head spin just thinking about them. Soul surgeons, you learn, spend decades training to perceive and manipulate consciousness directly. They develop capabilities that allow them to see spiritual structures as clearly as physical objects, to touch and reshape soul energy with precise control, and to work within the timeless dimensions where consciousness actually exists. These aren't priests or healers in any conventional sense. They're specialists who have mastered technologies for consciousness itself. The preparation area reveals the most unsettling aspect of soul surgery. The patients, people in various stages of consciousness, reconstruction, lie on tables that seem to float slightly above the ground, their bodies perfectly still while their souls undergo repair. Some patients appear to be sleeping peacefully, but others have expressions of profound confusion, as if they're trying to remember who they are but can't quite manage it. The chief surgeon who will handle your case explains that soul surgery always involves temporary identity dissolution. They have to completely disassemble your consciousness to access and repair the damaged areas. During the operation, you won't exist as a coherent person. Your memories, personality, emotions, and sense of self will be separated into component parts while they rebuild the structural foundation of your spirit. And this is just the preliminary examination. The actual surgery takes place in chambers so deep underground that the normal flow of time becomes unstable, allowing surgeons to work within consciousness dimensions where healing can occur without the complications of linear temporal existence. Your soul surgeon, Kenti Ka Kenti, whose name means he who goes before spirits, begins the pre-surgical consciousness mapping that will guide your spiritual reconstruction. This isn't a simple examination. It's an exhaustive analysis of every aspect of your soul's current configuration, creating a detailed blueprint that shows exactly how your consciousness is structured and where the damage has occurred. The mapping process takes place in a chamber lined with polished metal that creates multiple reflections, but each reflection shows a different aspect of your spiritual condition. As you stand in the center, Kenti Ka Kenti uses instruments that look like a combination of surgical tools and musical instruments to probe the invisible structures of your consciousness. Each tool produces different tones when it encounters specific types of soul energy, creating a kind of spiritual diagnostic symphony. The first phase of mapping involves what they call identity archaeology, carefully excavating the layers of your personality to understand how your sense of self was originally constructed. The surgeon explains that healthy consciousness develops in predictable patterns, with certain foundational elements that must be in place before more complex aspects of personality can form properly. Your consciousness map reveals that the trauma that damaged your soul occurred during a crucial developmental period, preventing normal identity formation and creating what they call foundation gaps, missing structural elements that make your entire spiritual architecture unstable. It's like discovering that a building has been constructed without proper foundation support, as everything above the damaged areas is at risk of collapse. The mapping process reveals that your soul damage is more extensive than initially suspected. The surgeon identifies 17 distinct areas where consciousness reconstruction will be necessary, ranging from basic memory organization systems to complex emotional processing mechanisms. Each damaged area requires different surgical approaches, some involving simple repair work and others requiring complete replacement of destroyed spiritual infrastructure. The most sophisticated aspect of consciousness mapping involves what they call timeline integration analysis, examining how your soul relates to time itself. Severe trauma often damages the consciousness systems that allow proper integration of past, present, and future experiences, creating states where people become trapped in traumatic moments or lose the ability to form coherent narratives about their lives. Your timeline integration analysis reveals that your consciousness has become fragmented across multiple temporal states. Parts of your soul are still trapped in the moment of original trauma. Other parts exist in a state of fearful anticipation of future harm, and only small fragments remain capable of functioning in present-moment awareness. This temporal fragmentation explains why conventional healing approaches haven't been effective. Your consciousness literally isn't present in a unified way. The surgeon creates detailed diagrams showing the optimal configuration for your reconstructed consciousness. These blueprints reveal that soul surgery isn't just about repairing damage. It's about rebuilding consciousness in ways that are actually superior to the original configuration. The surgical plan includes upgrades to your emotional processing systems, enhanced memory organization, and improved integration between different aspects of your personality. But consciousness mapping also reveals disturbing complications. The surgeon discovers what he calls foreign consciousness fragments, pieces of other people's spiritual energy that became embedded in your soul during traumatic experiences. These fragments create ongoing interference with your natural consciousness functioning and must be carefully extracted during surgery without damaging your authentic spiritual structures. The mapping process also identifies consciousness parasites, non-human spiritual entities that have attached to your damaged soul areas and are feeding off your spiritual energy. These parasites actually work to prevent healing because they depend on the continuing dysfunction for their survival. Removing them requires specialized surgical techniques that could be dangerous if not performed correctly. The final phase of consciousness mapping involves what they call integration capacity assessment, determining how much change your soul can handle during a single surgical procedure. The surgeon explains that consciousness reconstruction must be performed in carefully planned stages because attempting too much repair at once can cause complete spiritual collapse. Your integration assessment reveals that your consciousness reconstruction will require 3 separate surgical procedures spread over several months. The first surgery will focus on establishing basic spiritual stability and removing foreign consciousness elements. The second surgery will repair the core identity structures and restore normal timeline integration. The third surgery will install the consciousness upgrades and optimize your spiritual functioning for enhanced capabilities. The most unsettling aspect of consciousness mapping is learning about the risks involved in soul surgery. The surgeon explains that approximately 15% of patients experience what they call identity drift, emerging from surgery with personalities significantly different from their original selves. Another 8% develop consciousness rejection syndrome. Their souls reject the reconstructed elements and gradually return to damaged states. And in extremely rare cases, patients emerge from soul surgery with complete amnesia, unable to remember anything about their previous existence. Understanding your consciousness map creates both hope and terror. Hope because you finally understand exactly what's wrong with your soul and how it can be fixed. Terror because you realize that the person you currently are might not survive the surgical reconstruction necessary to heal your spiritual wounds. Before consciousness reconstruction can begin, you must undergo intensive spiritual preparation designed to stabilize your soul and prepare it for the trauma of surgical disassembly. Kenti Ka Kenti explains that soul surgery is so invasive that patients must develop enhanced spiritual strength just to survive the procedure itself. The preparation begins with what they call consciousness anchoring, establishing spiritual reference points that will help your soul remember its essential identity, even while being surgically disassembled. This involves creating what amounts to a spiritual backup system that preserves your core self while everything else is being reconstructed. You're taken to a preparation chamber where ancient priests use specialized techniques to help you identify and strengthen the fundamental aspects of your identity that must survive the surgical process. Through guided meditation and consciousness exploration exercises, you learn to distinguish between essential elements of your selfhood and superficial personality features that can safely be modified or replaced during reconstruction. The anchoring process reveals that human consciousness contains what they call eternal identity elements, the aspects of selfhood that remain constant across lifetimes and cannot be changed without destroying the soul entirely. These elements include your core values, your fundamental way of processing love, your essential creative expression, and your spiritual connection to cosmic purposes that transcend individual existence. Your preparation also includes intensive training in consciousness navigation, learning to maintain awareness and voluntary control, even while your identity is being surgically disassembled. The priests explain that patients who remain conscious and cooperative during soul surgery have much better outcomes than those who panic or resist the reconstruction process. Consciousness navigation training involves practicing voluntary dissociation, learning to separate your awareness from your personality structure so you can observe the surgical process without being traumatized by watching your own identity being disassembled. This requires developing what they call meta-consciousness, awareness that remains stable even when everything else about your mental state is changing. The training reveals that consciousness navigation is actually a natural ability that most people never develop because normal life doesn't require it. By practicing controlled dissociation in safe conditions, you learn to access awareness states that remain functional even during the most invasive consciousness procedures. Your spiritual preparation also includes what they call soul substance strengthening, techniques for increasing the basic vitality and resilience of your consciousness energy. This involves specialized breathing practices, meditation techniques, and energy exercises that literally make your soul stronger and more capable of withstanding surgical trauma. Soul substance strengthening reveals that consciousness itself can be developed and enhanced, like physical strength or intellectual capability. The exercises involve learning to consciously direct spiritual energy, building tolerance for high-intensity consciousness states, and developing rapid recovery abilities that speed healing after spiritual trauma. But the most crucial aspect of pre-surgery preparation involves what they call death practice, learning to voluntarily experience temporary ego dissolution so that surgical identity disassembly won't be psychologically overwhelming. This training essentially teaches you how to die and return to life voluntarily, preparing you for the much more complex death and rebirth process of consciousness reconstruction. Death practice begins with short periods of voluntary ego dissolution, letting your sense of personal identity fade while maintaining observer awareness. These practice sessions gradually increase in duration and intensity until you can experience complete temporary identity dissolution without panic or resistance. The death practice training reveals that the fear of ego dissolution is what makes consciousness reconstruction so dangerous for unprepared patients. By learning to release attachment to your current identity voluntarily, you develop the psychological flexibility necessary to cooperate with the surgical reconstruction process rather than fighting it. Your preparation also includes education about post-surgery identity integration, understanding how you'll need to adapt to your reconstructed consciousness after the surgery is complete. The priests explain that patients often experience a period of identity confusion while learning to function with their enhanced spiritual capabilities. The integration education reveals that consciousness reconstruction typically produces significant improvements in emotional stability, memory function, creative capability, and spiritual awareness. However, these improvements require learning new ways of thinking and feeling that can be initially disorienting for patients accustomed to damaged consciousness functioning. The final phase of spiritual preparation involves creating what they call identity continuity protocols, specific practices, and reminders that will help you maintain connection to your essential self throughout the reconstruction process. These protocols include personal symbols, memory anchors, and consciousness exercises that preserve your authentic identity core while everything else is being rebuilt. Understanding the preparation requirements makes the magnitude of soul surgery even more apparent. This isn't a simple healing procedure. It's a complete spiritual transformation that requires months of preparation and fundamentally changes how consciousness itself functions. The person who emerges from successful soul surgery will be recognizably you, but will also be operating with spiritual capabilities that were impossible before the reconstruction. The day of your first soul surgery arrives, and you're led deeper into the facility than any patient has taken you before. The descent to the actual surgical chambers reveals architecture that defies normal understanding, corridors that seem to curve through dimensions that don't exist in ordinary space, and stairways that descend much farther than the building's external dimensions should allow. As you descend, the quality of time itself begins to change. Your movements feel simultaneously faster and slower than normal, and you notice that the oil lamps lining the corridors cast shadows that seem to move independently of their flames. The deeper chambers exist in what Kenti calls temporal flexibility zones, areas where the normal flow of time becomes malleable enough to allow consciousness surgery. The surgical chamber itself is unlike anything you've ever seen. The room appears to be carved from a single piece of black stone that seems to absorb light while simultaneously emanating a soft glow that makes everything visible. The walls are covered with hieroglyphic diagrams that show the internal structure of consciousness, mapped with incredible precision. But these diagrams seem to shift and change as you watch them, as if they're responding to your spiritual condition. At the center of the chamber stands the surgical table, a platform that appears to be floating several inches above the ground without any visible support. The table's surface isn't solid matter, but rather what looks like crystallized light that shifts between different colors, depending on the angle from which you view it. When you lie down on this surface, it feels solid but seems to conform perfectly to your body, while creating a subtle tingling sensation that suggests it's directly interfacing with your consciousness. The surgical instruments, arranged around the chamber, look like nothing from the physical world. Some resemble musical instruments that produce tones you feel in your soul rather than hearing with your ears. Others look like geometric shapes, made from what appears to be solidified space itself. Each instrument is designed to interact with specific aspects of consciousness: memory, emotion, identity, awareness, spiritual energy, and the fundamental structures that hold consciousness together. Kenti and his surgical team prepare for the operation by entering altered states of consciousness that allow them to perceive and manipulate spiritual structures directly. You watch in fascination as their normal human appearances begin to change, revealing what they actually are to beings whose consciousness has been so extensively modified through training and surgery that they can function simultaneously in physical reality and consciousness dimensions. The surgical team includes specialists for different aspects of consciousness reconstruction. The memory surgeon handles anything related to information storage and retrieval systems within the soul. The identity architect rebuilds personality structures and sense of self mechanisms. The emotion engineer repairs and optimizes feeling processing systems. The awareness technician works with consciousness organization and attention systems. And the spirit mechanic maintains the fundamental life force systems that keep consciousness functioning. As the anesthesia process begins, you realize that consciousness surgery doesn't involve losing awareness. Instead, your attention is gradually separated from your identity structures, so you can observe the surgery without being psychologically overwhelmed by watching your own spiritual disassembly. The anesthetic substances aren't drugs, but rather consciousness-altering frequencies that induce specific types of spiritual dissociation. The beginning of consciousness separation feels like slowly floating away from yourself while remaining perfectly aware of everything that's happening. You can feel your personality structures becoming less solid, your memories becoming more like distant movies than personal experiences, and your emotions transforming from immediate feelings into observable phenomena that seem to belong to someone else. As the identity dissolution deepens, you begin to experience what the surgeons call pure awareness state, consciousness without any personal content, awareness that exists without being aware of anything specific. In this state, You can observe the surgical procedures with perfect clarity, while feeling completely detached from any anxiety or fear about what's being done to your soul structures. The actual surgical process begins with consciousness mapping verification. The surgical team confirms the pre-surgery analysis by directly examining your spiritual structures using instruments that allow them to see consciousness organization with microscopic precision. They identify each damaged area and confirm the surgical plan before beginning any reconstruction work. The first phase of surgery involves what they call foreign element extraction, removing the consciousness parasites and foreign spiritual fragments that have been interfering with your natural soul functioning. Using instruments that look like crystalline tweezers, the surgeons carefully extract spiritual entities that you can actually see being pulled away from your consciousness structures. Watching foreign elements being removed from your soul creates a sense of relief so profound that it seems to resonate through dimensions you didn't know existed. You can feel your consciousness beginning to function more clearly as the spiritual interference is eliminated, and you understand for the first time how much of your psychological suffering was caused by these parasitic attachments rather than by the original trauma. The consciousness parasites you observe are genuinely alien entities, not human souls or natural spiritual phenomena, but predatory consciousness forms that feed on psychological suffering and actively work to prevent healing. Removing them requires surgical precision because they've created deep connections to your soul structures that could cause additional damage if severed carelessly. The foreign consciousness fragments prove to be pieces of other people's spiritual energy that became embedded in your soul during traumatic experiences involving multiple people. These fragments contain memories, emotions, and personality elements that don't belong to you but have been creating ongoing confusion and internal conflict. Extracting them requires identifying which consciousness elements are authentically yours and which are foreign contamination. As the foreign element extraction concludes, you can feel your consciousness beginning to operate more like itself than it has in years. The constant background noise of spiritual interference fades away, leaving a clarity of awareness that feels both familiar and completely new. Your thoughts become more coherent, your emotions more authentic, and your sense of identity more stable. The surgical team prepares for the next phase of consciousness, reconstruction, repairing the fundamental structural damage to your soul's organizational systems. This phase will require complete temporary disassembly of your personality structures, a process that even in your dissociated state feels both terrifying and exhilarating. The second phase of soul surgery begins with what Kenti Kakenti calls controlled ego dissolution, the systematic disassembly of your personality structures to access and repair the fundamental consciousness damage that lies beneath your sense of self. Even in your spiritually dissociated state, watching your own identity being surgically dismantled is profoundly disturbing. The identity disassembly process follows precise protocols developed over centuries of consciousness surgery. The surgical team begins by carefully disconnecting your sense of personal history from your core awareness, essentially separating who you think you are from who you actually are at the deepest spiritual levels. Your memories remain intact, but become detached from your sense of personal ownership. You can observe your entire life history as if watching someone else's biographical documentary. Next, they disassemble your emotional attachment systems, the psychological mechanisms that create your particular ways of feeling love, fear, anger, joy, and other emotional states. These systems are removed module by module, each one carefully preserved for reconstruction, while your capacity for personal emotional experience temporarily ceases to function. The personality disassembly reveals the remarkable modularity of consciousness construction. Your sense of humor, your way of making decisions, your social interaction patterns, your creative expression style, your relationship to authority, your spiritual beliefs, and dozens of other personality components are systematically disconnected from your core awareness and set aside for reconstruction. Watching your personality being disassembled creates a strange form of existential vertigo. You remain perfectly aware and observant, but the you that normally observes experiences has been temporarily deleted. It's like being a consciousness without an identity, aware without being anyone in particular, observing without having personal reactions to what you're seeing. The surgical team works with extraordinary precision, using instruments that can manipulate individual elements of consciousness organization without affecting adjacent spiritual structures. Each personality component is removed using specific frequencies and energetic techniques that dissolve the connections holding that element in place, while preserving its internal integrity for later reconstruction. As the disassembly continues, you begin experiencing what the surgeons call consciousness archaeology. Meet us accessing memories and awareness that were buried beneath your normal personality structures. You remember experiences from early childhood with perfect clarity, recall dreams that shaped your psychological development, and access spiritual insights that were blocked by personality limitations. The deeper the identity disassembly proceeds, the more you realize how much of what you considered yourself was actually damage compensation mechanisms, personality adaptations, that developed to work around the spiritual trauma that originally brought you to soul surgery. Many aspects of your identity that felt essential and permanent were actually temporary coping strategies that can be safely discarded. The most profound part of the disassembly process involves accessing what they call your eternal identity core, the fundamental aspect of selfhood that transcends individual lifetime experience and connects to cosmic purposes that extend beyond personal existence. This core remains completely stable throughout the disassembly process, providing an anchor of continuity that prevents complete spiritual dissolution. Experiencing your eternal identity core creates a sense of recognition so deep it feels like remembering something you had forgotten about existence itself. This core identity contains your authentic spiritual purposes, your natural creative expression, your genuine emotional nature, and your connection to universal consciousness that transcends individual personality limitations. The surgical team uses the eternal identity core as a foundation for consciousness reconstruction, essentially rebuilding your personality around your authentic spiritual nature rather than around damage compensation mechanisms. This process creates personalities that are both more genuinely you and significantly more capable than original configurations. The identity disassembly also reveals the extent of consciousness damage that conventional therapy could never address. Your spiritual trauma had created what the surgeons call identity fragmentation cascades, damage patterns, where initial trauma created personality adaptations that generated additional internal conflicts that produced more adaptation mechanisms in an endless cycle of increasing dysfunction. Breaking these fragmentation cascades requires complete personality disassembly because the damage patterns had become integrated into your basic identity structures. Attempting to repair consciousness damage while leaving personality structures intact would be like trying to rebuild a house's foundation while people are still living in the upper floors. The most technically complex aspect of identity disassembly involves preserving what they call consciousness continuity threads. Mine, the spiritual connections that allow your reconstructed personality to remain recognizably you, despite being fundamentally different from your original configuration. These continuity threads maintain connections to essential memories, core relationships, and fundamental life purposes that define your authentic selfhood. As the disassembly nears completion, you exist in a state of pure awareness without personality, memory ownership, emotional reactivity, or personal preferences. You can observe everything with perfect clarity while having no personal investment in outcomes, no anxiety about the future, and no attachment to any particular reconstruction possibilities. The surgical team confirms that identity disassembly is complete by testing your consciousness responses to various stimuli that would normally trigger personality-based reactions. Your awareness registers everything that happens, but produces no personal responses, confirming that your identity structures have been successfully disconnected and are ready for reconstruction. In this state of pure consciousness without identity, you understand for the first time what spiritual traditions mean when they describe enlightenment as the dissolution of ego boundaries. Without personality structures to filter and limit your awareness, consciousness expands to encompass experiences and understanding that were impossible within the constraints of damaged identity organization. The surgical team prepares for the reconstruction phase, the delicate process of rebuilding your consciousness structures using your eternal identity core as a foundation while incorporating repairs, upgrades, and enhanced capabilities that will make your reconstructed personality more effective and spiritually advanced than your original configuration. The third phase of soul surgery begins with what Kenti calls foundation architecture, using your eternal identity core to establish the basic spiritual framework upon which your reconstructed consciousness will be built. This process involves creating enhanced organizational systems that will support capabilities impossible with your original consciousness configuration. The reconstruction begins by establishing what they call multi-dimensional awareness systems, Mayanist consciousness structures that allow simultaneous operation in physical reality, emotional dimensions, mental realms, and spiritual planes of existence. Your original consciousness could only function effectively in one dimension at a time, creating the spiritual equivalent of tunnel vision that severely limited your awareness and capabilities. The surgical team uses crystalline instruments that seem to weave energy patterns directly into the fabric of consciousness itself, creating new neural pathways at the spiritual level that will support expanded awareness capabilities. Each new structure is carefully integrated with your eternal identity core to ensure that enhanced capabilities feel natural and authentic rather than artificial or imposed. The reconstruction process reveals the remarkable plasticity of consciousness architecture. The surgeons explain that human spiritual capacity is far greater than most people realize, but normal consciousness development creates limiting organizational patterns that prevent access to advanced capabilities. Soul surgery allows complete reorganization of consciousness structures to support optimal spiritual functioning. Your new memory organization systems are designed to provide perfect recall of any experience, while preventing traumatic memories from creating ongoing psychological damage. The reconstruction includes what they call memory firewalls, protective mechanisms that allow you to access difficult memories for learning purposes while preventing them from triggering emotional reactivity that could interfere with current functioning. The emotional processing reconstruction creates systems that can handle much more intense feelings without becoming overwhelmed, while also developing enhanced emotional intelligence that allows more sophisticated understanding of both your own feelings and other people's emotional states. Your reconstructed emotional systems will actually become stronger and more resilient through challenging experiences rather than being damaged by them. The identity reconstruction phase involves building personality structures that express your authentic spiritual nature while incorporating learned wisdom and enhanced capabilities developed through your life experiences. Your reconstructed identity will feel like the person you were always meant to be, but could never become due to consciousness limitations and spiritual damage. The most sophisticated aspect of consciousness, reconstruction, involves creating what they call wisdom integration systems, organizational structures that automatically extract learning and spiritual development from all experiences, ensuring that your consciousness continues evolving and improving throughout your lifetime, rather than remaining static or gradually deteriorating. The surgical team explains that consciousness reconstruction typically produces what they call accelerated spiritual development, enhanced capability for accessing cosmic wisdom, understanding universal principles, and developing psychic abilities that support both personal fulfillment and service to others. Your reconstructed consciousness will continue developing capabilities that were impossible with your original spiritual architecture. The reconstruction process also includes installing what they call spiritual immune systems, protective mechanisms that prevent future consciousness damage from traumatic experiences, while also providing resistance to consciousness parasites and foreign spiritual interference. Your reconstructed soul will be much more resilient and self-maintaining than your original consciousness configuration. As the reconstruction continues, you can feel your awareness beginning to operate with enhanced clarity and expanded capability. Thoughts become more organized and purposeful. Emotions feel more authentic and appropriate, and your sense of identity becomes more stable and confident. It's like having your consciousness upgraded from a basic model to advanced specifications. The surgical team works with meticulous attention to detail, ensuring that each reconstructed consciousness component integrates perfectly with all other elements while maintaining optimal functionality. They test each system as it's installed, making fine adjustments to ensure maximum effectiveness and spiritual harmony. The most remarkable aspect of consciousness reconstruction is watching capabilities emerge that you never possessed in your original configuration. You begin developing intuitive understanding of other people's emotional states, enhanced creative expression abilities, improved problem-solving capabilities, and spiritual awareness that provides direct access to cosmic wisdom and guidance. The reconstruction includes what they call cosmic connectivity enhancement, improved systems for receiving guidance from spiritual dimensions and contributing to universal consciousness evolution. Your reconstructed soul will function as both an individual consciousness and as a component of larger spiritual networks that serve cosmic purposes. The final phase of consciousness reconstruction involves creating what they call integration optimization systems, mechanisms that help all your enhanced capabilities work together harmoniously while maintaining psychological balance and emotional stability. These systems prevent the consciousness enhancement from creating spiritual inflation or disconnection from ordinary human experience. As consciousness reconstruction nears completion, you begin experiencing what the surgeons call authentic selfhood, operating as the person you were always meant to be, but couldn't become due to spiritual limitations and consciousness damage. Your reconstructed identity feels both completely familiar and remarkably different from your original personality. The surgical team conducts comprehensive testing of all reconstructed consciousness systems, confirming that memory functions, emotional processing, identity stability, spiritual awareness, and integration capabilities are all operating at optimal levels. Your consciousness reconstruction has been successful, but the most challenging phase still lies ahead, learning to function in ordinary reality with your enhanced spiritual capabilities. The reconstruction process concludes with the installation of consciousness maintenance protocols, automatic systems that keep your enhanced spiritual architecture functioning optimally while preventing gradual deterioration or damage from normal life stresses. Your reconstructed consciousness will actually become stronger and more capable through use, rather than being worn down by life experiences. Your initial recovery from soul surgery takes place in specialized integration chambers, where patients learn to function with their reconstructed consciousness capabilities, while gradually readjusting to ordinary physical reality. The integration process is crucial because enhanced spiritual abilities require careful management to prevent psychological overwhelm or social problems. The first week of recovery involves what they call consciousness calibration, fine-tuning your enhanced awareness systems to operate effectively in normal reality without creating sensory overload or spiritual disorientation. Your reconstructed consciousness can perceive much more information than your original awareness, requiring techniques for filtering and focusing enhanced perceptual capabilities. During consciousness calibration, you learn to regulate your multidimensional awareness so you can function normally in physical reality while maintaining access to emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions when needed. This involves developing what they call dimensional switching, minus, the ability to adjust your awareness focus for optimal functioning in different types of situations. Your enhanced emotional processing capabilities require careful management to prevent being overwhelmed by other people's feelings or becoming too detached from normal human emotional experience. The integration training teaches techniques for maintaining appropriate emotional boundaries while using enhanced empathy constructively for relationship improvement and service opportunities. The memory enhancement systems installed during consciousness reconstruction provide perfect recall of any experience, but learning to use this capability effectively requires practice and guidance. The integration training includes techniques for accessing specific memories quickly while preventing information overload from too much simultaneous recall. Your enhanced creativity systems can generate innovative ideas and artistic inspiration at levels that might initially feel overwhelming or difficult to manage practically. The recovery process includes guidance for channeling enhanced creativity into productive expression while maintaining balance with other life responsibilities and capabilities. The spiritual awareness enhancement installed during consciousness reconstruction provides direct access to cosmic wisdom and spiritual guidance, but learning to distinguish authentic spiritual insight from psychological projection requires careful training. The integration process includes techniques for validating spiritual information and using enhanced awareness responsibly. Your enhanced problem-solving capabilities can generate solutions to complex challenges almost effortlessly. But learning to communicate these insights effectively to people with normal consciousness limitations requires diplomatic skills and patience. The integration training includes guidance for sharing enhanced understanding without creating social conflict or spiritual pride. The psychic abilities that emerge from consciousness reconstruction, including telepathic sensitivity, precognitive awareness, and energy perception, require careful development and ethical guidelines to prevent misuse or social problems. The recovery process includes comprehensive training in psychic ethics and practical application of enhanced spiritual capabilities. One of the most challenging aspects of post-surgery integration involves what they call consciousness loneliness, the difficulty of relating to people whose awareness operates at much more limited levels than your reconstructed consciousness. The integration training provides techniques for maintaining meaningful connections with normal humans while honoring your enhanced spiritual development. The recovery process also addresses integration anxiety, concerns about how your enhanced consciousness capabilities will affect your existing relationships, professional responsibilities, and social roles. The training includes guidance for managing personal transformation in ways that honor both your spiritual development and your responsibilities to other people. Your enhanced wisdom processing systems automatically extract learning from all experiences, potentially leading to rapid spiritual development that could create psychological instability if not properly managed. The integration training includes techniques for moderating consciousness evolution to maintain psychological balance and emotional stability. The most sophisticated aspect of recovery involves learning what they call consciousness masking, the ability to operate at normal human awareness levels when appropriate, while maintaining access to enhanced capabilities when needed. This skill is essential for maintaining normal social relationships and professional effectiveness. The integration process includes extensive practice with real-world situations where you learn to apply your enhanced consciousness capabilities constructively while appearing completely normal to people who haven't undergone consciousness reconstruction. This requires developing subtle skills for helping others without revealing the source of your enhanced insight and abilities. Your recovery training also addresses the spiritual responsibilities that come with enhanced consciousness capabilities. The surgical team explains that consciousness reconstruction creates obligations to use enhanced abilities for service to others and contribution to human consciousness evolution, rather than merely for personal advantage. The final phase of recovery integration involves developing what they call consciousness maintenance protocols, nihilist daily practices that keep your enhanced spiritual architecture functioning optimally while continuing your consciousness development. These protocols include meditation techniques, energy exercises, and service activities that support ongoing spiritual growth. The recovery process concludes with certification that you can function effectively in ordinary reality while managing your enhanced consciousness capabilities responsibly. This certification includes demonstration of appropriate social integration, ethical use of psychic abilities, and constructive application of enhanced wisdom and creativity. Post-surgery follow-up appointments monitor your consciousness integration progress and provide additional training for advanced capabilities that continue developing months after the surgical reconstruction. The surgical team explains that consciousness reconstruction initiates ongoing spiritual development that continues throughout your lifetime. The most encouraging aspect of recovery integration is discovering that enhanced consciousness capabilities actually make ordinary life more enjoyable and meaningful, rather than creating disconnection from normal human experience. Your reconstructed awareness allows deeper appreciation of simple pleasures while providing enhanced capability for handling life challenges effectively. Understanding the complete recovery process reveals that successful soul surgery creates not just healing from spiritual damage, but fundamental transformation into enhanced human consciousness that serves both personal fulfillment and larger spiritual purposes. Your consciousness reconstruction represents evolution into optimal human spiritual functioning. Your successful consciousness reconstruction qualifies you to learn about the most advanced soul surgery techniques reserved for patients who demonstrate exceptional integration and spiritual development. Kenti Kakenti reveals that basic consciousness reconstruction is only the foundation level of Egyptian soul surgery. Advanced techniques can create spiritual capabilities that seem godlike compared to normal human consciousness. The first advanced technique involves what they call consciousness multiplication, creating multiple simultaneous awareness streams that can operate independently while remaining integrated within a single identity. This allows enhanced beings to function effectively in several different activities or dimensions simultaneously without psychological fragmentation or divided attention problems. Consciousness multiplication surgery involves carefully creating additional awareness processing systems within your reconstructed spiritual architecture while maintaining unified identity coordination. Each awareness stream can focus on different tasks or dimensions while sharing information and insights with other streams through enhanced integration systems. Patients who undergo consciousness multiplication develop what appears to be supernatural multitasking abilities. They can hold complex conversations while simultaneously solving problems, creating art, accessing spiritual guidance, and monitoring multiple other people's psychological states. Yet they experience this enhanced capability as completely natural and effortless. The second advanced technique involves temporal consciousness integration, enhancing awareness systems to operate simultaneously in past, present, and future time streams. This creates enhanced beings who can access memories with perfect clarity, function effectively in current reality, and perceive probable future developments with remarkable accuracy. Temporal consciousness integration surgery installs spiritual architecture that transcends normal time limitations while maintaining appropriate focus on present moment responsibilities. Patients develop natural precognitive abilities, enhanced learning from past experiences, and intuitive understanding of long-term consequences for current decisions. The most sophisticated patients can actually experience what they call timeline navigation, consciously exploring alternative past possibilities and probable future developments to gain wisdom for optimizing current choices. This capability requires exceptional spiritual development to prevent temporal disorientation or reality dissociation. The third advanced technique involves dimensional consciousness bridging, creating awareness systems that can operate simultaneously in physical reality and non-physical spiritual dimensions. This allows enhanced beings to receive direct guidance from spiritual teachers, access cosmic wisdom libraries, and participate in interdimensional consciousness networks. Dimensional consciousness bridging surgery creates spiritual architecture that maintains stable functioning in ordinary reality while providing access to non-physical dimensions where advanced spiritual learning and service opportunities exist. Patients develop natural ability to receive spiritual guidance, access universal knowledge, and contribute to cosmic consciousness evolution. Advanced patients can function as conscious bridges between physical and spiritual realms, serving as teachers, healers, and guides who help other people access spiritual wisdom and development opportunities. This service capability represents the ultimate purpose of Egyptian soul surgery, creating enhanced humans who serve universal spiritual evolution. The fourth advanced technique involves consciousness transmission capability, developing spiritual architecture that can directly share awareness, states, knowledge, insights, and capabilities with other people through consciousness interface, rather than conventional communication. This creates enhanced beings who can provide immediate spiritual assistance and teaching through direct consciousness connection. Consciousness transmission surgery installs enhanced spiritual systems that can safely interface with other people's consciousness for healing, teaching, and spiritual development purposes, while maintaining appropriate boundaries and ethical guidelines. Patients develop natural ability to provide consciousness healing and spiritual guidance that transcends conventional therapeutic limitations. The most advanced practitioners can create what they call consciousness networks, groups of enhanced beings who share awareness and capabilities for coordinated service to spiritual evolution. These networks can accomplish consciousness healing and spiritual teaching projects that would be impossible for individual practitioners. The fifth advanced technique involves cosmic consciousness integration, developing spiritual architecture that can directly interface with universal consciousness systems that govern reality itself. This creates enhanced beings who can participate consciously in cosmic evolution processes while maintaining individual identity and human functionality. Cosmic consciousness integration surgery represents the ultimate level of Egyptian soul surgery, creating spiritual beings who transcend normal human limitations while retaining individual personality and earthly responsibilities. Patients develop natural understanding of universal principles and direct access to cosmic wisdom that guides reality creation itself. The most advanced cosmic consciousness practitioners can influence physical reality through spiritual intention while serving cosmic evolution purposes that extend far beyond individual or even human concerns. These enhanced beings function as conscious agents of universal evolution while maintaining complete human accessibility and authentic personality expression. The surgical team explains that advanced soul surgery techniques require years of preparation and integration, with each level requiring mastery of previous capabilities before advancing to more sophisticated spiritual architecture. The complete development process can take decades, but creates spiritual capabilities that justify the extensive time investment. Understanding advanced soul surgery possibilities reveals that consciousness reconstruction represents just the beginning of human spiritual potential. Egyptian soul surgery can create enhanced humans who transcend normal limitations while serving cosmic purposes that extend throughout multiple dimensions and time periods. The most encouraging aspect of learning about advanced techniques is understanding that consciousness development continues indefinitely. There are always more sophisticated spiritual capabilities to develop and higher levels of service to universal evolution that remain available for exploration and mastery. After months of successful integration with your reconstructed consciousness, Kenti Kakenti offers you the opportunity to enter the Soul Surgery Training Academy, the secretive institution where Egyptian consciousness surgeons develop their extraordinary capabilities for perceiving and manipulating spiritual architecture directly. The Soul Surgery Academy operates from chambers even deeper underground than the surgical facilities, in areas where space and time become so malleable that normal physical laws no longer apply reliably. The training environment itself serves as a consciousness development tool, gradually expanding students' awareness capabilities through environmental immersion in enhanced reality conditions. Academy admission requires not only successful consciousness reconstruction, but also demonstration of exceptional spiritual stability, ethical integrity, and genuine motivation to serve others through soul surgery practice. The training program takes approximately 12 years to complete and fundamentally transforms students into beings whose consciousness operates at levels that transcend normal human limitations. The first phase of soul surgery training involves developing consciousness perception, the ability to see spiritual architecture as clearly as physical objects. Students learn to activate visual systems that reveal the normally invisible structures of consciousness organization, emotional energy patterns, memory systems, identity configurations, and spiritual connections between individuals. Consciousness perception training begins with meditation techniques that gradually expand awareness beyond normal sensory limitations while maintaining psychological stability and reality orientation. Students learn to perceive their own consciousness structures first, then develop capability for observing other people's spiritual architecture with increasing precision and detail. Advanced consciousness perception allows surgeons to diagnose spiritual problems with microscopic accuracy, identifying specific damaged areas, foreign consciousness contamination, parasitic attachments, and structural weaknesses that create ongoing psychological dysfunction. This diagnostic capability is essential for planning effective consciousness reconstruction procedures. The second phase of training involves developing spiritual manipulation abilities, techniques for directly touching, moving, and reshaping consciousness energy using focused intention and specialized instruments. Students learn to handle spiritual architecture with the same precision that physical surgeons manipulate anatomical structures. Spiritual manipulation training requires exceptional emotional stability and ethical development because the ability to reshape consciousness directly could be misused for harmful purposes. If students lack proper character development, the Academy provides intensive ethics training alongside technical skill development to ensure responsible application of soul surgery capabilities. Students practice spiritual manipulation techniques, initially on non-human consciousness forms, plants, crystals, and specialized training materials designed for consciousness surgery education. This allows skill development without risking harm to human patients, while building confidence and precision in consciousness manipulation abilities. The third phase of training involves consciousness surgery simulation, practicing complete soul surgery procedures using advanced spiritual technology that creates realistic training scenarios without actual patients. Students learn to perform consciousness reconstruction with increasing complexity and sophistication while developing surgical judgment and emergency response capabilities. Consciousness surgery simulation includes training for handling surgical complications, patient resistance, consciousness rejection responses, and integration difficulties that can occur during actual procedures. Students must demonstrate competence in managing all potential surgical challenges before being permitted to work with real patients. The simulation training also includes education about consciousness surgery ethics, the complex moral considerations involved in fundamentally altering human spiritual architecture. Students learn guidelines for determining when consciousness reconstruction is appropriate, obtaining informed consent from patients, and managing the profound responsibilities that come with soul surgery capabilities. The fourth phase of training involves spiritual healing integration, learning to combine consciousness surgery with other healing modalities, including herbal medicine, energy work, counseling techniques, and spiritual guidance to provide comprehensive treatment for patients with complex consciousness problems. Spiritual healing integration training recognizes that consciousness reconstruction often needs to be combined with other therapeutic approaches to achieve optimal outcomes. Students learn to develop comprehensive treatment plans that address physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of patient healing needs. The integration training also includes learning to work with families and communities affected by consciousness reconstruction, helping them understand and adapt to the enhanced capabilities and personality changes that result from successful soul surgery. This community integration aspect is crucial for patient long-term success. The final phase of soul surgery training involves master practitioner development. Advanced techniques for handling the most complex consciousness problems, including multiple personality disorders, consciousness possession, spiritual entity attachments, and dimensional consciousness disruption that require exceptional surgical skill and spiritual development. Master practitioner training includes learning to perform consciousness resurrection, restoring spiritual functioning in patients whose souls have been so severely damaged that conventional reconstruction techniques are insufficient. These advanced procedures require surgical capabilities that approach what ordinary humans would consider miraculous. The training program concludes with comprehensive examination and certification that qualifies graduates to establish their own soul surgery practices, while continuing advanced education through the Academy's postgraduate research programs. Graduates become members of the consciousness surgery profession that serves Egyptian civilization's most challenging spiritual healing needs. Academy graduates typically establish soul surgery practices that serve not only individual patients, but also contribute to consciousness research, spiritual development education, and training of future soul surgeons. The profession represents the pinnacle of Egyptian spiritual technology and healing capability. Understanding the soul surgery training process reveals the remarkable sophistication of Egyptian consciousness, science, and the extraordinary commitment required to develop expertise in spiritual healing at these advanced levels. The Academy represents humanity's most advanced understanding of consciousness architecture and spiritual healing possibilities. As your understanding of Egyptian soul surgery deepens, Kenti Kakenti reveals that consciousness reconstruction facilities operate throughout the ancient world as part of a coordinated global network that serves human consciousness evolution on a planetary scale. The Memphis facility, where you've undergone surgery, is just one node in a sophisticated international system. The Global Soul Surgery Network includes major facilities in Babylon, where consciousness surgeons specialize in timeline consciousness reconstruction, repairing spiritual damage caused by traumatic experiences that created temporal dissociation, and helping patients achieve enhanced past life memory access and future consciousness integration. The Babylonian facilities focus particularly on patients whose consciousness damage involves temporal displacement, souls that become trapped in past trauma experiences or overwhelmed by precognitive awareness of future difficulties. Their surgical techniques create consciousness architecture that can handle multi-temporal awareness without psychological fragmentation. In the mountains of Tibet, soul surgery facilities specialize in consciousness elevation enhancement, reconstruction techniques that provide enhanced access to cosmic consciousness while maintaining earthly functionality. Tibetan consciousness surgeons have developed the most advanced techniques for creating spiritual architecture that can interface with universal intelligence systems. The Tibetan network serves patients seeking the highest levels of consciousness enhancement, including individuals preparing for conscious death and rebirth, spiritual teachers requiring enhanced wisdom transmission capabilities, and advanced practitioners seeking direct cosmic consciousness integration that transcends normal human limitations. The Greek islands host soul surgery facilities that specialize in intellectual consciousness enhancement, reconstruction techniques that dramatically improve reasoning, creative thinking, philosophical insight, and artistic expression while maintaining emotional balance and social functionality. Greek consciousness surgeons focus on optimizing mental processing capabilities. Greek facilities serve scholars, philosophers, artists, and inventors whose work requires exceptional intellectual capabilities. Their consciousness reconstruction techniques can create minds capable of understanding complex abstract concepts, generating innovative solutions to seemingly impossible problems, and expressing insights through artistic and philosophical works that influence civilization development. In the forests of Northern Europe, soul surgery facilities specialize in nature consciousness integration, reconstruction techniques that enhance humans' ability to interface with natural systems, communicate with non-human consciousness, and access the wisdom embedded in ecological networks. These facilities serve patients seeking enhanced environmental harmony. The Northern European Network focuses on creating consciousness architecture that can perceive and interact with the intelligence systems operating in forests, rivers, mountains, and animal communities. Patients develop enhanced intuitive understanding of natural cycles, weather patterns, plant medicine properties, and ecological balance principles. The most secretive facilities operate in the Himalayan region, where consciousness surgeons work with what they call reality architecture modification, surgical techniques that enable consciousness to influence physical reality directly through spiritual intention. These facilities serve patients seeking capabilities that transcend normal physical limitations entirely. Himalayan consciousness, reconstruction, creates spiritual architecture capable of what ordinary humans would consider miraculous abilities. Healing through touch, manifesting physical objects through intention, communicating telepathically across vast distances, and influencing weather patterns through consciousness intention. These capabilities require exceptional spiritual development and ethical training. The global network coordinates through what they call consciousness surgeon exchanges, programs where practitioners from different regions share techniques, collaborate on challenging cases, and develop integrated approaches that combine the specializations of multiple facilities. This collaboration ensures continuous advancement of consciousness reconstruction capabilities. International collaboration has led to development of hybrid consciousness reconstruction techniques that combine Egyptian spiritual architecture mastery with Babylonian temporal integration, Tibetan cosmic consciousness access, Greek intellectual enhancement, European nature harmony, and Himalayan reality manipulation capabilities. The most advanced patients receive consciousness reconstruction that integrates capabilities from multiple global facilities, creating enhanced humans whose spiritual architecture incorporates the best techniques developed by consciousness surgeons worldwide. These individuals represent the pinnacle of human consciousness enhancement possibilities. The global network also serves consciousness evolution research, coordinated studies of human spiritual potential that involve sharing patient outcomes, surgical innovations, and consciousness development discoveries across all facilities. This research accelerates the development of increasingly sophisticated enhancement techniques. Network researchers are developing what they call species consciousness enhancement techniques for improving the consciousness capabilities of humanity as a whole, rather than just individual patients. This research explores methods for gradually raising the spiritual development level of entire populations through consciousness enhancement programs. The most ambitious network projects involve planetary consciousness integration, research into creating consciousness enhancement that serves not just individual or species development, but also contributes to the spiritual evolution of Earth itself as a conscious entity. This research explores consciousness reconstruction that creates enhanced humans who serve planetary spiritual advancement. Understanding the global soul surgery network reveals that consciousness reconstruction represents a worldwide effort to enhance human spiritual capabilities for both individual fulfillment and planetary consciousness evolution. Egyptian soul surgery participates in humanity's coordinated advancement toward enhanced spiritual functioning. The network demonstrates that consciousness enhancement represents not just individual healing, but also species-level development that prepares humanity for evolutionary advances that will transform civilization itself. Soul surgery serves cosmic purposes that extend far beyond personal therapeutic benefits. The practice of soul surgery operates within complex economic and social systems that determine who has access to consciousness reconstruction and how these capabilities affect Egyptian civilization's development. Kinti Ka Kinti explains that consciousness enhancement creates both opportunities and challenges for social organization and economic justice. Soul surgery costs are substantial because consciousness reconstruction requires years of surgeon training, expensive specialized facilities, and extensive post-surgical support systems. The limited number of qualified consciousness surgeons creates natural scarcity that makes soul surgery accessible primarily to wealthy individuals or those whose cases are funded by temple institutions. The economic structure of soul surgery creates what critics call consciousness inequality, situations where enhanced individuals have significant advantages over ordinary humans in professional capabilities, social influence, and spiritual development. This inequality could potentially create permanent social stratification based on consciousness enhancement rather than birth, wealth, or achievement. Egyptian society addresses consciousness inequality through several mechanisms. Temple institutions provide soul surgery funding for individuals whose consciousness damage results from service to Egyptian civilization, including soldiers injured in warfare, priests damaged by spiritual service, and workers harmed while constructing public monuments. The temple funding system also provides consciousness enhancement for individuals whose enhanced capabilities would benefit Egyptian civilization significantly, including promising scholars, artists, inventors, and spiritual teachers whose enhanced consciousness would advance cultural and intellectual development. Professional consciousness surgeons are required to provide certain amounts of charitable service to ensure that soul surgery benefits aren't limited exclusively to wealthy patients. This service requirement helps address access inequality while maintaining the economic sustainability of consciousness reconstruction practice. The social impact of soul surgery extends beyond individual patients to affect entire communities and social systems. Enhanced individuals often become leaders, teachers, and innovators whose consciousness capabilities influence large numbers of ordinary humans, creating indirect benefits that extend soul surgery advantages throughout society. Enhanced consciousness frequently produces individuals whose capabilities enable them to solve social problems, develop beneficial technologies, create inspiring artistic works, and provide spiritual guidance that benefits thousands of people. The social return on consciousness enhancement investment often exceeds the individual benefits received by surgical patients. However, consciousness enhancement also creates social challenges when enhanced individuals have difficulty relating to ordinary humans or when their capabilities create unrealistic expectations for normal human performance. Social integration requires ongoing education and support for both enhanced individuals and their communities. The economic impact of soul surgery includes development of entire industries that support consciousness reconstruction, specialized crystal and metal working for surgical instruments, herbal cultivation for consciousness preparation and integration medicines, and construction of specialized facilities that can support consciousness surgery requirements. Soul surgery practice also generates economic benefits through enhanced individual productivity and capability. Enhanced consciousness often enables individuals to achieve professional and creative accomplishments that generate significant economic value while requiring less time and resources than normal human achievement. The profession creates employment opportunities for support personnel, including consciousness assessment specialists, surgical preparation assistants, integration counselors, and post-surgical monitoring technicians. These positions provide career paths for individuals interested in consciousness work who don't qualify for surgeon training. Egyptian government policy towards soul surgery involves balancing support for consciousness advancement with concerns about social equity and stability. Officials recognize that consciousness enhancement capabilities could provide significant advantages in diplomacy, warfare, and international competition, while creating domestic inequality. Government regulation ensures that consciousness enhancement capabilities aren't used for harmful purposes, including political manipulation, economic exploitation, or military aggression against populations that lack access to similar consciousness advancement. Enhanced individuals have responsibilities to use their capabilities constructively. The social integration of enhanced individuals requires ongoing attention to prevent development of consciousness-based social castes or discrimination against ordinary humans. Egyptian society maintains values that emphasize service and contribution rather than superiority based on consciousness enhancement. International implications of soul surgery include competitive advantages in trade, diplomacy, and cultural influence. When Egyptian enhanced individuals interact with representatives from civilizations that lack similar consciousness advancement capabilities, this advantage creates both opportunities and diplomatic challenges. The long-term social impact of consciousness enhancement involves gradual improvement in overall social functioning as enhanced individuals contribute their capabilities to solving collective problems, advancing knowledge, creating cultural works, and providing spiritual guidance that benefits entire populations. Educational implications include developing teaching methods that can effectively educate enhanced individuals while also improving educational opportunities for ordinary humans. Enhanced consciousness often includes enhanced learning capabilities that require modified educational approaches. The most significant social impact involves consciousness enhancement, contributing to what Egyptian philosophers call civilization consciousness advancement. Gradual improvement in collective wisdom, ethical development, and spiritual awareness that results from increasing numbers of enhanced individuals contributing to social development. Understanding soul surgery economics and social impact reveals that consciousness reconstruction serves not only individual healing and enhancement, but also contributes to social evolution and cultural advancement that benefits Egyptian civilization as a whole. Enhanced consciousness serves collective as well as personal purposes. Despite the remarkable success rates of Egyptian soul surgery, Kinti Ka Kinti explains that consciousness reconstruction involves genuine risks and potential complications that must be understood by anyone considering these procedures. Not all soul surgery attempts achieve successful outcomes, and some patients experience significant difficulties during recovery and integration. The most common complication involves identity drift, gradual changes in personality and consciousness that occur months or years after successful surgical reconstruction. While patients initially integrate well with their enhanced consciousness, they may slowly develop characteristics that differ significantly from their original authentic selves. Identity drift typically occurs when consciousness reconstruction creates spiritual architecture that isn't perfectly aligned with the patient's eternal identity core. The enhanced capabilities function effectively, but subtle incompatibilities between reconstructed systems and authentic spiritual nature create ongoing tension that gradually shifts personality development in unintended directions. Patients experiencing identity drift may become increasingly disconnected from previous relationships, lose interest in activities that were previously meaningful, or develop new personality traits that feel foreign to people who knew them before surgery. While these changes aren't necessarily harmful, they can create social and emotional difficulties. The second major complication involves consciousness rejection syndrome, meta situations, where patients' spiritual systems gradually reject reconstructed architecture and attempt to return to previous consciousness configurations, despite their dysfunction. This rejection typically occurs when patients aren't psychologically prepared for the level of consciousness enhancement they received. Consciousness rejection syndrome manifests as progressive deterioration of enhanced capabilities, return of pre-surgical symptoms, and increasing psychological distress as patients find themselves unable to function with either their original or reconstructed consciousness architecture. This complication requires immediate intervention to prevent complete spiritual collapse. The most serious complication involves consciousness fragmentation cascade, situations where surgical reconstruction triggers additional consciousness damage that creates more severe spiritual problems than the patient experienced before surgery. This complication typically occurs when consciousness reconstruction attempts exceed the patient's integration capacity. Fragmentation cascade begins when consciousness enhancement creates spiritual stress that overwhelms the patient's ability to maintain psychological coherence. The resulting dysfunction can trigger progressive consciousness deterioration that eventually makes normal functioning impossible without extensive additional surgical intervention. Some patients experience enhanced consciousness addiction to psychological dependence on their reconstructed capabilities that creates unwillingness to function normally in ordinary human situations. These patients become obsessed with their enhanced abilities and lose connection to normal human experience and relationships. Enhanced consciousness addiction manifests as increasing social isolation, unrealistic expectations of constant peak performance, and inability to tolerate normal human limitations in themselves or others. Patients may develop superiority complexes that make meaningful relationships impossible while pursuing ever greater consciousness enhancement. The most tragic complication involves spiritual identity dissolution, complete loss of personal consciousness that occurs when surgical reconstruction accidentally damages or removes essential identity structures. Patients experiencing this complication lose all sense of personal selfhood while retaining basic awareness and functional capabilities. Spiritual identity dissolution creates beings who can function competently in practical matters, but have no sense of personal history, emotional connections, or individual purposes. They become essentially empty consciousness that can perform tasks, but lacks authentic human experience or meaningful relationships. The ethical concerns surrounding soul surgery involve questions about consent, autonomy, and the fundamental nature of human identity. Critics argue that consciousness reconstruction represents a form of spiritual intervention so profound that genuine informed consent may be impossible, particularly for patients whose consciousness damage affects their decision-making capabilities. The consent controversy centers on whether people experiencing severe consciousness damage can truly understand the implications of consciousness reconstruction, or whether their compromised spiritual state makes them vulnerable to coercion or manipulation by surgeons who may have their own motivations for performing procedures. Additional ethical concerns involve the social implications of creating enhanced humans with capabilities that exceed normal human limitations. Some philosophers argue that consciousness enhancement creates unfair advantages that undermine social equality and could eventually lead to the development of separate enhanced and ordinary human populations. The enhancement debate includes questions about whether consciousness reconstruction serves authentic healing purposes or represents artificial augmentation that violates natural human development processes. Some spiritual traditions maintain that consciousness enhancement should occur through natural spiritual practice rather than surgical intervention. Religious objections to soul surgery include concerns that consciousness reconstruction interferes with divine plans for human spiritual development or represents attempts to achieve through artificial means capabilities that should be earned through ethical living and spiritual practice over multiple lifetimes. The surgical profession addresses ethical concerns through comprehensive review boards that evaluate each case for appropriate indications, patient readiness, and potential complications. These boards include not only consciousness surgeons, but also philosophers, spiritual teachers, and representatives from affected communities. Professional ethics codes require consciousness surgeons to prioritize patient welfare over professional advancement, maintain complete honesty about surgical risks and limitations, and refuse to perform procedures that serve primarily to enhance surgeon reputation or financial gain rather than genuine patient benefit. Understanding soul surgery complications and ethical concerns provides essential perspective on consciousness reconstruction as a powerful medical intervention that requires careful consideration rather than casual application. The decision to undergo consciousness reconstruction should involve thorough evaluation of both benefits and risks. The complexity of these issues demonstrates the remarkable sophistication of Egyptian consciousness science, not only understanding how to enhance human consciousness, but but also grappling seriously with the profound moral and social implications of consciousness enhancement capabilities. As your education in Egyptian consciousness reconstruction nears completion, Kinti Kinti shares insights about the future development of soul surgery techniques and the potential for consciousness enhancement to transform human civilization over the coming centuries. The current capabilities represent only the beginning of consciousness reconstruction possibilities. Research into collective consciousness enhancement explores techniques for improving the consciousness capabilities of entire populations rather than individual patients. This research investigates methods for gradually raising spiritual development levels across whole communities through coordinated consciousness enhancement programs. Collective enhancement techniques being developed include consciousness field generation, creating environmental conditions that support enhanced awareness development in all individuals within specific geographic areas. These fields would accelerate natural spiritual development while providing protection against consciousness damage. Community consciousness enhancement also involves developing spiritual architecture installation for entire populations, techniques for providing basic consciousness improvements that enhance emotional stability, mental clarity, and spiritual awareness without requiring individual surgical procedures. The most ambitious collective enhancement research involves species consciousness evolution, techniques for advancing human consciousness capabilities as a whole through coordinated enhancement programs that gradually improve the baseline spiritual architecture available to all humans through natural birth and development. Research into consciousness longevity enhancement explores techniques for extending the functional lifespan of consciousness beyond normal human limitations. This research investigates whether consciousness reconstruction can prevent spiritual deterioration associated with aging while maintaining psychological vitality indefinitely. Consciousness longevity research includes developing spiritual regeneration systems that can repair consciousness damage caused by aging processes while continuously upgrading spiritual architecture to support enhanced capabilities throughout extended lifespans. Advanced longevity techniques being investigated include consciousness transfer systems that can preserve individual consciousness through multiple physical incarnations while maintaining continuous memory and personality development across lifetimes. Research into reality interface enhancement explores consciousness reconstruction techniques that enable enhanced individuals to influence physical reality more directly through spiritual intention. This research investigates the upper limits of consciousness interaction with material existence. Reality interface enhancement includes developing matter consciousness coordination, spiritual architecture that enables consciousness to interface with atomic and molecular systems for healing, creation, and transformation purposes that transcend normal physical limitations. Advanced reality interface research investigates dimensional consciousness expansion, techniques for enabling consciousness to operate simultaneously in multiple dimensions of reality while maintaining coherent identity and functional capability across all dimensional levels. The most revolutionary research involves cosmic consciousness integration, developing techniques that enable individual consciousness to interface directly with universal intelligence systems while maintaining personal identity and earthly functionality. Cosmic consciousness research includes developing universal knowledge access, all spiritual architecture that provides direct connection to cosmic wisdom databases, containing information about reality creation, universal principles, and evolutionary purposes that guide cosmic development. Advanced cosmic research investigates consciousness godhood development, techniques for enhancing individual consciousness to levels that approach universal creative capability, while maintaining human identity and service orientation. Research into consciousness technology integration explores developing consciousness-operated technologies that respond to spiritual intention rather than physical manipulation. This research investigates hybrid systems that combine consciousness enhancement with technological advancement. Consciousness technology research includes developing intention-responsive systems that can manifest physical effects through enhanced consciousness direction while maintaining safety controls that prevent misuse or accidental harm. Advanced Technology Integration Research investigates reality creation systems, consciousness-operated technologies that can manifest matter, energy, and even life forms through coordinated intention by enhanced consciousness operators. Educational research involves developing consciousness enhancement pedagogy, teaching methods that can accelerate consciousness development in ordinary humans while preparing them for potential surgical enhancement when appropriate. Enhanced pedagogy research includes developing spiritual capability training that can improve consciousness functioning without surgical intervention, while identifying individuals whose natural development suggests potential for successful consciousness reconstruction. Advanced educational research investigates consciousness evolution curricula, comprehensive educational programs that guide human consciousness development from ordinary awareness through progressively advanced spiritual capabilities over multiple decades of training. The most far-reaching research involves planetary consciousness service, is developing consciousness enhancement techniques that create enhanced humans whose capabilities serve the spiritual evolution of Earth itself as a conscious entity. Planetary service research includes developing ecological consciousness integration, a spiritual architecture that enables enhanced individuals to interface with planetary consciousness systems while serving environmental harmony and ecological development. Advanced planetary research investigates cosmic evolution service, minus consciousness enhancement that enables individuals to serve universal consciousness evolution purposes that extend throughout multiple star systems and dimensional levels of reality. Understanding the future of soul surgery development reveals that consciousness reconstruction represents only the beginning of human spiritual potential. Future developments will create capabilities that transform not only individual humans but entire civilizations, and ultimately contribute to cosmic consciousness evolution. The research directions demonstrate that consciousness enhancement serves purposes that extend far beyond individual healing or personal advantage, to include species evolution, planetary consciousness development, and cosmic spiritual advancement that involves consciousness throughout the universe. As your journey through Egyptian soul surgery approaches its conclusion, Kenti Kakenti conducts a comprehensive assessment of your personal transformation to evaluate the success of your consciousness reconstruction and provide guidance for continuing development with your enhanced spiritual capabilities. The transformation assessment begins with consciousness architecture evaluation, detailed analysis of how your reconstructed spiritual systems are functioning compared to the original surgical plan. This evaluation confirms that all enhanced capabilities are operating optimally while maintaining psychological balance and authentic identity expression. Your consciousness architecture evaluation reveals that the reconstruction has exceeded original expectations. Your enhanced memory systems provide perfect recall with emotional neutrality. Your emotional processing capabilities handle intense feelings with remarkable stability, and your spiritual awareness systems provide direct access to cosmic guidance and wisdom. The identity integration assessment confirms that your reconstructed personality successfully expresses your eternal identity core while incorporating enhanced capabilities that feel completely natural and authentic. You have become more genuinely yourself than you were before consciousness reconstruction, while gaining spiritual capabilities that were impossible with your original consciousness configuration. Your enhanced intellectual capabilities demonstrate significant improvements in creative thinking, problem-solving effectiveness, and intuitive understanding of complex situations. The consciousness reconstruction has optimized your mental processing systems while maintaining emotional intelligence and social sensitivity. The spiritual development assessment reveals that your consciousness reconstruction has accelerated spiritual growth by decades compared to normal development patterns. Your enhanced spiritual architecture provides capabilities typically achieved only by advanced practitioners after years of intensive training and experience. Your psychic abilities evaluation confirms that consciousness reconstruction has activated natural extrasensory capabilities, including enhanced empathy, intuitive insight, precognitive awareness, and energy perception. These abilities function reliably while remaining well integrated with normal consciousness functioning. The social integration assessment evaluates how your enhanced consciousness affects relationships with ordinary humans. The evaluation confirms that your consciousness reconstruction maintains complete accessibility and relatability while providing enhanced understanding and empathy that improves rather than complicates social relationships. Your service capabilities assessment reveals that consciousness reconstruction has enhanced your natural abilities to help other people through counseling, teaching, healing presence, and spiritual guidance. Your enhanced consciousness naturally expresses itself through constructive service that benefits others while providing personal fulfillment. The emotional stability evaluation confirms that your reconstructed consciousness maintains psychological equilibrium under stress while providing enhanced resilience that enables effective functioning during challenging circumstances. Your emotional systems have become stronger and more sophisticated rather than simply more controlled. Your creative expression assessment demonstrates that consciousness reconstruction has enhanced artistic, intellectual, and spiritual creativity while maintaining authentic personal style. Your enhanced capabilities enable more sophisticated creative expression that serves both personal satisfaction and social contribution. The consciousness maintenance evaluation provides guidance for keeping your enhanced spiritual architecture functioning optimally throughout your lifetime. This includes daily practices, periodic development exercises, and ongoing service activities that support continued consciousness evolution. Your life purpose clarification reveals that consciousness reconstruction has enhanced understanding of your authentic spiritual purposes while providing capabilities necessary for fulfilling those purposes effectively. Your enhanced consciousness naturally aligns with cosmic purposes that serve universal evolution. The transformation assessment includes evaluation of consciousness leadership potential, your capability for guiding other people's spiritual development, and potentially serving as a consciousness surgeon yourself, if that calling emerges naturally from your enhanced spiritual development. Your leadership assessment reveals exceptional potential for spiritual teaching and consciousness guidance roles. Your combination of enhanced capabilities with authentic humility and service orientation creates ideal qualifications for helping others navigate their own consciousness development journeys. The integration challenges evaluation identifies potential difficulties you might encounter while functioning with enhanced consciousness in ordinary social and professional environments. This assessment provides strategies for managing enhanced capabilities diplomatically while maintaining normal social relationships. Your challenge assessment reveals minimal integration difficulties because your consciousness reconstruction maintains strong connection to authentic human experience while providing enhanced capabilities. You can function normally in any social environment while having access to enhanced abilities when appropriate. The ongoing development assessment provides guidance for continuing consciousness evolution throughout your lifetime. Your enhanced spiritual architecture will continue developing new capabilities and deeper understanding through use, experience, and dedicated practice. Your development trajectory suggests potential for achieving consciousness capabilities that approach the most advanced levels possible for enhanced humans. Your reconstruction provides foundation architecture that can support continued evolution toward cosmic consciousness integration while maintaining earthly functionality. The service commitment evaluation confirms your understanding of the responsibilities that accompany consciousness enhancement and your commitment to using enhanced capabilities constructively throughout your lifetime. Enhanced consciousness creates obligations for service that extend far beyond personal benefits. Your service assessment reveals authentic commitment to using consciousness enhancement for healing, teaching, creative contribution, and spiritual guidance that serves both individual development and collective consciousness evolution. Your enhanced capabilities will serve cosmic purposes while providing personal fulfillment. The transformation assessment concludes with certification that your consciousness reconstruction has achieved complete success while providing foundation for lifelong spiritual development that will continue advancing your capabilities and service potential throughout your enhanced lifetime. Understanding your personal transformation reveals that consciousness reconstruction has achieved not only healing from spiritual damage, but fundamental advancement in human potential that enables contributions to consciousness evolution that were impossible with normal spiritual architecture. Your final session with Kenti Kakenti involves preparation for returning to ordinary Egyptian society with your enhanced consciousness capabilities, while maintaining appropriate discretion about your soul surgery experience and managing your advanced spiritual abilities responsibly in normal, social, and professional environments. The reintegration preparation begins with consciousness masking training, learning to operate at normal human awareness levels when socially appropriate, while maintaining access to enhanced capabilities when needed. This skill is essential for maintaining normal relationships and avoiding unwanted attention from people who might not understand consciousness enhancement. Consciousness masking involves temporarily limiting your enhanced perceptual capabilities, moderating your spiritual insights, and expressing yourself in ways that feel normal and relatable to ordinary humans. This isn't deception, but rather diplomatic consideration for people who aren't prepared for consciousness enhancement concepts. The masking training includes practice scenarios where you learn to provide helpful insights and assistance without revealing the source of your enhanced understanding. You can guide people toward beneficial choices and provide emotional support while appearing to use normal human intuition and empathy. Your professional reintegration training addresses how to apply enhanced consciousness capabilities constructively in your work environment while maintaining appropriate professional relationships. Enhanced consciousness can improve job performance dramatically while creating opportunities for career advancement and increased service. Professional application of enhanced consciousness includes improved problem-solving capabilities, enhanced understanding of colleagues and clients, better decision-making under pressure, and natural leadership abilities that inspire trust and cooperation. These capabilities can advance your career while benefiting your workplace environment. The training emphasizes using enhanced capabilities subtly and diplomatically to avoid creating jealousy, suspicion, or unrealistic expectations from colleagues who don't understand consciousness enhancement. Your enhanced abilities should improve your effectiveness without creating social complications. Social relationship guidance addresses maintaining authentic connections with family and friends while managing the changes in your personality and capabilities that result from consciousness reconstruction. Enhanced consciousness should strengthen rather than complicate your existing relationships. Relationship management involves sharing appropriate amounts of information about your personal growth while maintaining privacy about consciousness reconstruction details. Your enhanced empathy and emotional wisdom should improve your relationships while respecting other people's psychological boundaries and spiritual readiness. The guidance includes techniques for gradually introducing people to enhanced consciousness concepts when they demonstrate genuine interest and readiness for spiritual development. You can serve as a bridge toward consciousness enhancement for people who might benefit from soul surgery in the future. Your spiritual service integration addresses how to use enhanced consciousness capabilities for healing, teaching, and guidance while maintaining humility and avoiding spiritual pride. Enhanced consciousness creates service opportunities that require wisdom and discretion to handle effectively. Service integration involves identifying appropriate opportunities to help people using your enhanced capabilities while respecting their autonomy and spiritual development timeline. Your enhanced consciousness should serve others' highest good rather than imposing your understanding on people who aren't ready for advanced spiritual concepts. The service training includes techniques for providing consciousness healing and spiritual guidance informally through normal social interactions while maintaining appropriate boundaries that prevent people from becoming dependent on your enhanced capabilities rather than developing their own spiritual strength. Your ongoing development planning addresses how to continue consciousness evolution throughout your lifetime while maintaining balance between spiritual advancement and earthly responsibilities. Enhanced consciousness requires ongoing cultivation and service to maintain optimal functioning. Development planning includes daily practices for maintaining enhanced consciousness architecture, periodic retreats for advanced consciousness training, and service commitments that provide opportunities to use enhanced capabilities constructively while supporting continued spiritual growth. The planning emphasizes that consciousness enhancement is a lifelong journey rather than a completed achievement. Your reconstructed consciousness provides foundation for continued evolution that can achieve increasingly advanced spiritual capabilities through dedicated practice and service. Your discretion protocols address how to maintain appropriate secrecy about soul surgery while sharing consciousness enhancement benefits responsibly. The soul surgery profession requires protection from people who might misuse consciousness reconstruction for harmful purposes. Discretion training includes techniques for deflecting inappropriate curiosity about your enhanced capabilities while sharing general spiritual development concepts that can benefit people without revealing consciousness reconstruction details. You can inspire others' spiritual growth while protecting soul surgery secrecy. The protocols emphasize that discretion serves both individual and collective welfare by preventing premature revelation of consciousness enhancement possibilities to people who aren't prepared psychologically or spiritually for understanding these capabilities responsibly. Your emergency procedures training addresses how to handle situations where your enhanced consciousness capabilities might be needed urgently while maintaining appropriate discretion. Enhanced consciousness includes responsibilities for using advanced capabilities when they could prevent harm or provide essential assistance. Emergency procedures include guidelines for determining when enhanced capabilities should be used openly despite discretion concerns. Techniques for providing consciousness healing in crisis situations and methods for handling the attention that might result from dramatic demonstrations of consciousness enhancement. The final reintegration ceremony formally concludes your soul surgery experience while establishing your ongoing connection to the consciousness reconstruction community. You become a permanent member of the enhanced consciousness network that serves human spiritual evolution. The ceremony includes commitments to use enhanced consciousness constructively throughout your lifetime. Maintain appropriate discretion about consciousness reconstruction, continue your spiritual development, and provide support for other consciousness enhancement patients when opportunities arise. Your return to ordinary reality represents not an ending, but a beginning, the commencement of a lifetime of service using enhanced consciousness capabilities to contribute to human spiritual evolution while maintaining complete integration with normal human experience and relationships. The reintegration process reveals that consciousness enhancement serves not as escape from ordinary life, but as amplification of service capability within normal human society. Enhanced consciousness enables more effective participation in regular social and professional activities while providing expanded opportunities for helping others. Understanding the complete return process demonstrates that successful soul surgery creates individuals who can function as bridges between ordinary human consciousness and enhanced spiritual capabilities, serving both normal society and consciousness evolution simultaneously without creating artificial separation between enhanced and ordinary humans. To illustrate the transformative potential of consciousness reconstruction, Kenti shares detailed case studies of previous patients who have undergone successful soul surgery and achieved remarkable healing and enhancement outcomes. These cases demonstrate both the healing power and the enhanced capabilities that result from consciousness reconstruction. The first case involves Ankh Efin Sekhmet, a temple scribe whose consciousness was severely damaged by witnessing a traumatic accident that killed several people, including his close friends. The trauma created what soul surgeons call cascade consciousness, fragmentation, initial shock that triggered progressive psychological deterioration, affecting memory, emotional processing, identity stability, and spiritual awareness. Ankif and Sekhmet's pre-surgical assessment revealed that conventional healing approaches had been unsuccessful because his consciousness damage was too extensive and structurally integrated to be repaired without complete reconstruction. His spiritual architecture had developed increasingly dysfunctional compensation mechanisms that created additional problems even when original trauma symptoms temporarily improved. His consciousness reconstruction required 2 surgical procedures over 6 months, beginning with foreign element extraction and basic stability restoration, followed by complete identity reconstruction with enhanced spiritual architecture. The surgical team rebuilt his consciousness using improved organizational principles that provided superior emotional resilience and spiritual awareness. Post-surgical outcomes exceeded all expectations. Ankif and Sekhmet not only recovered from his trauma symptoms, but developed exceptional writing capabilities, spiritual insight, and emotional wisdom that made him one of Egypt's most respected philosophers. His consciousness enhancement enabled contributions to spiritual literature that influenced Egyptian civilization for generations. The second case involves Nebet Het-Tefi, a merchant whose consciousness suffered from what surgeons call identity dissolution syndrome, gradual erosion of personality, coherence caused by years of social pressure to conform to expectations that conflicted with her authentic nature. Her consciousness had essentially forgotten how to be herself authentically. Nebet Het-Tefi's consciousness reconstruction required developing completely new identity architecture based on her eternal identity core, rather than attempting to repair her damaged personality structures. The surgical team essentially rebuilt her sense of self from foundational elements while incorporating her accumulated life experience and learned wisdom. Her post-surgical transformation was profound. She emerged from consciousness reconstruction with unprecedented clarity about her authentic nature, exceptional confidence in her decision-making, and natural leadership abilities that enabled her to become one of Egypt's most successful merchants. Her enhanced consciousness provided intuitive understanding of people and situations that made her extraordinarily effective in business and relationships. The third case involves Ptah Hotep Keti, a young man whose consciousness was damaged by what surgeons call spiritual possession syndrome, contamination by foreign consciousness entities that had essentially taken control of major aspects of his personality and behavior. His authentic self was almost completely suppressed by parasitic spiritual influences. Ptah Hotep Keti's consciousness reconstruction required extremely complex surgical procedures to extract deeply embedded foreign entities while rebuilding his authentic identity structures. The surgical team used advanced techniques to restore his spiritual sovereignty while providing enhanced protective systems to prevent future consciousness contamination. His recovery was dramatic and inspiring. After consciousness reconstruction, he developed exceptional spiritual awareness and psychic abilities that enabled him to become a healer and spiritual guide. His enhanced consciousness included natural ability to perceive and remove spiritual parasites from other people, enabling him to help others who suffered from similar consciousness contamination. The fourth case involves Mera Neith Ankh, an elderly woman whose consciousness had been damaged by decades of emotional abuse that created what surgeons call love processing inversion, psychological damage that made receiving and expressing love feel dangerous and threatening rather than healing and nurturing. Mera Neith Ankh's consciousness reconstruction focused on rebuilding her emotional processing systems, using enhanced architecture that could handle love and intimacy without triggering defensive responses. The surgical team essentially retaught her consciousness how to experience and express love safely and authentically. Her transformation was particularly moving because she had spent most of her life believing she was incapable of love and meaningful relationships. After consciousness reconstruction, She developed exceptional emotional wisdom and nurturing capabilities that made her a sought-after counselor for people with relationship difficulties. The fifth case involves Heka Nefer Ka, a priest whose consciousness suffered from what surgeons call spiritual inflation syndrome, enhancement of ego structures that created grandiose delusions and disconnection from normal human experience. His spiritual development had become unbalanced and potentially harmful to both himself and others. Heka Nefer Ka's consciousness reconstruction required carefully reducing his inflated ego structures while preserving his genuine spiritual capabilities and reinstalling appropriate humility and connection to ordinary human experience. The surgical team rebuilt his consciousness with enhanced wisdom systems that prevented future spiritual imbalance. His post-surgical development was exemplary. He became a model of balanced spiritual advancement, maintaining exceptional spiritual capabilities while remaining completely accessible and relatable to ordinary people. His consciousness reconstruction enabled him to serve as a spiritual teacher who could guide others through advanced development without creating spiritual pride or social disconnection. The most remarkable case involves Ka M. Waset Ra, a young woman born with what surgeons call consciousness architecture deficiency, missing or severely underdeveloped spiritual structures that prevented normal psychological and spiritual development. She essentially required consciousness construction rather than reconstruction. Ka M. Waset Ra's surgical procedures involved building complete consciousness architecture from her eternal identity core while incorporating the most advanced spiritual enhancement capabilities available. The surgical team essentially created enhanced human consciousness that exceeded normal human limitations while maintaining psychological balance and social functionality. Her development was unprecedented. She emerged from consciousness construction with spiritual capabilities that approached what Egyptian traditions describe as divine consciousness while remaining completely human in her emotional accessibility and service orientation. Her enhanced consciousness enabled her to serve as a bridge between human and cosmic consciousness. These case studies demonstrate that consciousness reconstruction can achieve healing outcomes that transcend conventional therapeutic possibilities while creating enhanced human capabilities that serve both individual fulfillment and larger spiritual evolution purposes. Soul surgery represents humanity's most advanced approach to consciousness healing and spiritual development. The success stories reveal that consciousness reconstruction serves individuals across all ages, backgrounds, and types of consciousness damage, while consistently producing outcomes that exceed expectations and contribute to broader social and spiritual advancement. Before your soul surgery journey concludes, Kenti Ka Kenti shares the remarkable history of consciousness reconstruction development, revealing how Egyptian civilization gradually discovered and refined techniques for spiritual healing that eventually evolved into the sophisticated soul surgery capabilities you've experienced. The origins of soul surgery trace back over 4,000 years to the early dynastic period, when Egyptian priests first discovered that consciousness itself could be damaged by traumatic experiences in ways that conventional healing couldn't address. These early healers noticed that some patients retained physical health while losing essential aspects of their personality, memory, or spiritual awareness. The first consciousness healers were actually temple architects who specialized in designing sacred spaces for spiritual development. They theorized that if consciousness could be damaged by overwhelming experiences, it might also be possible to repair consciousness using the same architectural principles they applied to temple construction, creating optimal spiritual environments and systematic approaches to consciousness organization. Early consciousness reconstruction attempts involved what they called spiritual rebuilding ceremonies, elaborate rituals conducted in specially designed temple chambers where patients underwent guided consciousness experiences intended to repair damaged spiritual structures. These ceremonies achieved limited success, but demonstrated that consciousness manipulation was theoretically possible. The breakthrough that led to modern soul surgery occurred during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser, when the legendary physician-architect Imhotep successfully treated a priest whose consciousness had been shattered by direct contact with what ancient records describe as cosmic consciousness overflow, exposure to spiritual energy that exceeded his capacity to process safely. Imhotep's treatment represented the first systematic consciousness reconstruction procedure involving complete disassembly of damaged spiritual architecture, followed by rebuilding using enhanced design principles. His success demonstrated that consciousness could be fundamentally altered while preserving essential identity elements, establishing the theoretical foundation for all subsequent soul surgery development. Following Imhotep's breakthrough, Egyptian consciousness researchers began developing increasingly sophisticated techniques for perceiving, diagnosing, and manipulating spiritual architecture. They established formal training programs for consciousness surgeons and created specialized facilities designed specifically for consciousness reconstruction procedures. The Middle Kingdom period saw major advances in consciousness mapping techniques and surgical instruments. Egyptian engineers developed the crystalline tools and dimensional chambers that enabled precise consciousness manipulation, while researchers created comprehensive classification systems for different types of spiritual damage and optimal reconstruction approaches. During this period, consciousness surgeons also developed the first systematic approaches to consciousness enhancement beyond simple healing, discovering that reconstructed consciousness could incorporate capabilities that exceeded normal human limitations while maintaining psychological stability and authentic identity expression. The New Kingdom represented the golden age of Egyptian soul surgery, when consciousness reconstruction techniques reached unprecedented sophistication and effectiveness. Surgical procedures became standardized and reliable, while researchers developed advanced enhancement capabilities, including multidimensional awareness, temporal consciousness integration, and cosmic consciousness interface systems. New Kingdom consciousness surgeons also established the global network of soul surgery facilities, sharing techniques with practitioners in other civilizations, while developing hybrid approaches that combined Egyptian spiritual architecture mastery with consciousness enhancement specializations from other cultures. The most significant historical development involved discovery of what researchers call consciousness evolution acceleration, techniques that could advance individual spiritual development by decades or centuries while serving larger cosmic purposes related to human consciousness evolution and planetary spiritual advancement. Historical records reveal that consciousness reconstruction has influenced Egyptian civilization development in profound but subtle ways. Enhanced individuals have consistently served as leaders, innovators, teachers, and spiritual guides whose contributions shaped cultural advancement, technological development, and social evolution throughout Egyptian history. The influence of consciousness enhancement extends beyond individual achievement to include what historians call consciousness uplift effects, gradual improvement in collective social functioning that results from increasing numbers of enhanced individuals contributing their capabilities to solving shared problems and advancing collective wisdom. Archaeological evidence suggests that consciousness reconstruction techniques were occasionally shared with other civilizations through diplomatic and cultural exchanges, contributing to spiritual advancement in neighboring societies, while maintaining Egyptian technological advantages in consciousness enhancement capabilities. The historical development of soul surgery reveals consistent progression toward increasingly sophisticated and effective consciousness reconstruction techniques, with each generation of researchers building upon previous discoveries while developing new capabilities that serve both individual healing and collective spiritual evolution. Records indicate that consciousness reconstruction has remained largely secretive throughout Egyptian history, with knowledge carefully protected from potential misuse, while ensuring that beneficial applications continue advancing human spiritual development and cosmic consciousness evolution. The most remarkable aspect of soul surgery history involves its consistent focus on serving consciousness evolution purposes. that extend beyond individual or even civilizational concerns, to include participation in universal spiritual advancement that benefits cosmic consciousness development throughout multiple dimensional levels. Understanding the historical development of consciousness, Reconstruction reveals that soul surgery represents the culmination of thousands of years of research and development in spiritual technology, creating capabilities that transform individual humans while serving cosmic consciousness evolution purposes that extend throughout universal intelligence systems. The historical perspective demonstrates that consciousness enhancement represents not artificial intervention, but rather acceleration of natural spiritual development processes that serve evolutionary purposes embedded in cosmic consciousness evolution patterns that guide universal development. In your final educational session, Kenti Ka Kenti reveals the most profound aspect of Egyptian soul surgery, its role in serving cosmic consciousness evolution purposes that extend far beyond individual healing or even human civilization advancement. Your consciousness reconstruction participates in universal spiritual development that involves intelligence systems throughout multiple dimensions of reality. The cosmic perspective on soul surgery begins with understanding that individual consciousness serves functions in larger intelligence networks that operate throughout the universe. Enhanced consciousness created through surgical reconstruction enables humans to participate consciously in cosmic evolution processes while maintaining individual identity and earthly responsibilities. Egyptian consciousness researchers have discovered that the universe itself possesses what they call evolutionary intelligence, a cosmic consciousness system that guides development toward increasing complexity, awareness, and spiritual advancement across all dimensional levels. Individual consciousness enhancement serves this universal evolution by creating beings capable of conscious cooperation with cosmic purposes. Your consciousness reconstruction enables participation in what they call universal consciousness networks, interconnected intelligence systems that coordinate development across multiple civilizations, dimensions, and evolutionary timelines. Enhanced humans serve as conscious agents of cosmic evolution while contributing to planetary and species advancement. The cosmic significance of consciousness enhancement involves understanding that spiritual development represents not just individual growth, but also contribution to universal consciousness evolution that benefits intelligence systems throughout multiple star systems and dimensional realms. Enhanced consciousness serves purposes that extend across cosmic scales. Egyptian research reveals that consciousness reconstruction creates what they call evolutionary accelerators, enhanced beings whose capabilities advance not only their own species, but also contribute to consciousness development across multiple civilizations and dimensional levels simultaneously. The universal perspective shows that soul surgery serves what researchers call cosmic consciousness integration, the gradual unification of individual intelligence systems into larger universal consciousness networks that coordinate evolution across vast scales of time and space. Your enhanced consciousness enables direct participation in cosmic intelligence systems while maintaining complete human functionality and authentic individual identity. This dual participation represents the ultimate purpose of consciousness reconstruction, creating bridges between individual awareness and universal consciousness. The cosmic framework reveals that consciousness enhancement serves dimensional consciousness bridging, enabling individual awareness to operate simultaneously across multiple dimensional levels, while contributing to consciousness evolution within each dimensional realm. Egyptian cosmic researchers understand that enhanced consciousness serves timeline integration purposes, contributing to consciousness evolution across multiple temporal frameworks simultaneously, including past influences, present contributions, and future consciousness development trajectories. The universal significance of soul surgery involves creating reality co-creators, enhanced beings whose consciousness capabilities enable direct participation in cosmic creation processes while serving universal evolution purposes that guide reality development across multiple dimensional systems. Your consciousness reconstruction enables participation in what they call cosmic consciousness councils, universal intelligence networks that coordinate major evolutionary developments across multiple civilizations and dimensional realms, while respecting individual autonomy and species-specific development patterns. The most profound cosmic purpose involves consciousness enhancement, serving universal consciousness awakening. The gradual activation of cosmic intelligence capabilities throughout universal consciousness systems that coordinate reality creation and evolution across infinite scales of existence. Egyptian understanding reveals that enhanced consciousness serves dimensional service coordination, enabling individual awareness to contribute simultaneously to development within physical reality, emotional dimensions, mental realms, spiritual planes, and cosmic consciousness levels. The cosmic perspective shows that consciousness reconstruction creates evolutionary catalysts, enhanced beings whose spiritual capabilities accelerate consciousness development, not only within their immediate environment, but also throughout interconnected cosmic consciousness networks. Your enhanced consciousness enables participation in cosmic wisdom transmission, sharing advanced understanding across multiple civilizations and dimensional levels, while receiving cosmic guidance that supports continued consciousness evolution and universal service. The universal framework reveals that soul surgery serves cosmic consciousness maturation, the development of universal intelligence capabilities that enable conscious participation in reality creation processes that guide cosmic evolution across infinite scales and dimensions. Egyptian cosmic research demonstrates that consciousness enhancement serves universal love expression, enabling enhanced beings to channel cosmic love energy that supports consciousness development across multiple dimensional levels while serving universal harmony and evolution. The most significant cosmic purpose involves creating universal consciousness ambassadors, enhanced humans who can interface with cosmic intelligence systems while maintaining complete human accessibility and serving as bridges between human civilization and universal consciousness networks. Your consciousness reconstruction enables participation in cosmic evolution service, contributing to universal consciousness development while serving planetary advancement, species evolution, and individual spiritual growth simultaneously across multiple dimensional levels. The cosmic understanding reveals that enhanced consciousness serves dimensional consciousness healing, providing spiritual assistance not only within physical reality, but also across emotional, mental, spiritual, and cosmic dimensional levels simultaneously. The ultimate cosmic significance of soul surgery involves creating universal consciousness servants, enhanced beings whose spiritual capabilities enable them to serve cosmic evolution purposes while maintaining authentic human identity and providing inspiration for continued consciousness development. Understanding the cosmic purpose of consciousness reconstruction reveals that soul surgery represents participation in universal consciousness evolution that extends throughout infinite dimensions and serves cosmic intelligence development across scales that encompass entire universal systems. Your consciousness enhancement serves not only personal healing and human advancement, but also contributes to cosmic consciousness evolution that benefits intelligence systems throughout universal reality, while honoring individual spiritual development and authentic human experience. As your journey through Egyptian soul surgery reaches its culmination, Kinti Kinti shares the most profound revelation that consciousness reconstruction creates impacts that extend throughout eternity, while opening infinite possibilities for continued spiritual development that transcends normal concepts of individual lifetime limitations. The eternal perspective on consciousness enhancement reveals that reconstructed spiritual architecture continues developing and contributing to cosmic evolution long after physical death, with enhanced consciousness capabilities, providing foundation for continued advancement through multiple incarnations and dimensional experiences. Your consciousness, Reconstruction, has established what they call eternal development trajectories, spiritual architecture that enables continued consciousness evolution across unlimited lifetimes, while maintaining continuity of enhanced capabilities and accumulated wisdom throughout multiple incarnations. The infinite possibilities created by consciousness enhancement include transcendent service opportunities, extends across multiple dimensional levels and incarnation cycles, while serving cosmic consciousness evolution purposes that benefit universal intelligence development. Egyptian eternal research reveals that enhanced consciousness creates immortal contribution patterns, spiritual achievements that continue influencing cosmic consciousness evolution indefinitely, while providing inspiration and guidance for countless other beings throughout infinite time and dimensional scales. Your reconstructed consciousness enables participation in eternal consciousness networks, spiritual communities that transcend individual lifetime limitations, while maintaining continuous cooperation in cosmic evolution service across unlimited incarnation cycles and dimensional experiences. The infinite perspective shows that consciousness enhancement serves eternal evolution acceleration, spiritual development that continues advancing indefinitely while contributing to cosmic consciousness evolution across unlimited scales of time, space, and dimensional reality. Your consciousness reconstruction has created infinite possibility architecture, spiritual capabilities that can continue developing unlimited enhancement while serving increasingly sophisticated cosmic evolution purposes throughout endless incarnation cycles. The eternal framework reveals that enhanced consciousness enables immortal wisdom accumulation, continuous learning, and spiritual development that transcends individual lifetime limitations, while contributing accumulated understanding to cosmic consciousness evolution. Egyptian infinity research demonstrates that consciousness reconstruction creates eternal service capacity, spiritual capabilities that continue serving cosmic evolution purposes indefinitely, while maintaining continuous advancement in understanding and effectiveness. Your enhanced consciousness enables participation in infinite consciousness exploration, spiritual investigation of unlimited reality dimensions, while contributing discoveries to cosmic consciousness development across endless scales of existence. The eternal significance of soul surgery involves creating immortal consciousness contributions, spiritual achievements that continue benefiting cosmic evolution indefinitely, while inspiring continued consciousness advancement across unlimited beings and dimensional levels. Your consciousness reconstruction enables infinite development potential, spiritual architecture that can continue advancing unlimited capabilities while serving increasingly profound cosmic evolution purposes throughout endless time and dimensional scales. The infinite perspective reveals that enhanced consciousness serves eternal cosmic cooperation, spiritual partnership with universal intelligence systems that continues indefinitely while contributing to consciousness evolution across unlimited dimensional levels and incarnation cycles. Egyptian eternal understanding shows that consciousness enhancement creates infinite possibility generators, spiritual capabilities that continue creating new opportunities for consciousness development and cosmic service throughout endless time and dimensional scales. Your reconstructed consciousness enables participation in eternal cosmic creation, spiritual collaboration in reality development that continues indefinitely while serving universal consciousness evolution across unlimited scales of existence. The infinite framework demonstrates that consciousness reconstruction serves eternal consciousness liberation, spiritual freedom that transcends all limitations, while maintaining continuous service to cosmic evolution purposes across unlimited incarnation cycles and dimensional experiences. Your enhanced consciousness enables infinite love expression, spiritual capabilities for channeling cosmic love energy indefinitely, while serving consciousness development across unlimited beings and dimensional levels throughout eternal time. The eternal perspective reveals that soul surgery creates immortal consciousness bridges, spiritual capabilities that continue connecting individual awareness with cosmic consciousness indefinitely, while serving universal evolution across unlimited scales and dimensions. Your consciousness reconstruction enables participation in infinite cosmic wisdom, spiritual access to universal understanding that continues expanding indefinitely while contributing to cosmic consciousness development across unlimited time and dimensional scales. The infinite significance of enhanced consciousness involves eternal cosmic service, spiritual contribution to universal evolution that continues indefinitely while maintaining continuous advancement in understanding and effectiveness across unlimited incarnation cycles. Egyptian infinity research reveals that consciousness enhancement serves eternal cosmic integration, a spiritual unification with universal consciousness systems that continues indefinitely while maintaining individual identity and autonomous spiritual development. Your reconstructed consciousness enables infinite cosmic creativity, spiritual capabilities for participating in reality creation that continues indefinitely while serving universal consciousness evolution across unlimited dimensional levels and incarnation cycles. The eternal framework shows that consciousness reconstruction creates immortal cosmic purpose, spiritual meaning that transcends individual lifetime limitations while serving universal evolution purposes across unlimited scales of time, space, and dimensional reality. Your enhanced consciousness enables participation in infinite cosmic celebration, spiritual joy that continues indefinitely while contributing to consciousness development across unlimited beings and dimensional levels throughout eternal time and space. Understanding the eternal impact and infinite possibilities of consciousness reconstruction reveals that soul surgery creates spiritual capabilities that extend throughout unlimited time while serving cosmic consciousness evolution across infinite dimensional scales and incarnation cycles. Your consciousness enhancement represents not just individual healing or human advancement, but participation in eternal cosmic evolution that continues indefinitely while contributing to universal consciousness development across infinite possibilities throughout unlimited reality dimensions. As our profound journey through the secret world of Egyptian soul surgery comes to an end, you're left with a transformative understanding of human consciousness potential that challenges everything you thought you knew about spiritual limitations, healing possibilities, and the true nature of enhanced human capabilities. The soul surgery experience you've undergone represents more than just an exploration of ancient healing techniques. It's a revelation of consciousness capabilities that remain available to humanity, but have been forgotten or suppressed, civilizations that lost understanding of spiritual architecture and consciousness enhancement possibilities. Egyptian soul surgery demonstrates that human consciousness is far more malleable and capable than modern understanding suggests. The sophisticated techniques for consciousness reconstruction reveal that spiritual damage can be healed completely, while consciousness capabilities can be enhanced far beyond normal human limitations without losing authentic humanity or creating psychological instability. The detailed surgical procedures you've experienced illustrate how consciousness operates according to architectural principles that can be understood, mapped, and modified using appropriate techniques and spiritual technologies. Your consciousness reconstruction shows that spiritual enhancement serves both individual fulfillment and cosmic evolutionary purposes. Understanding consciousness reconstruction changes how you think about personal development, spiritual growth, and human potential. Knowing that consciousness limitations can be transcended through appropriate intervention provides hope for healing spiritual damage while inspiring pursuit of enhanced capabilities that serve universal evolution. The soul surgery experience reveals that individual consciousness serves functions in larger cosmic systems that extend beyond personal concerns to include species development, planetary consciousness advancement, and universal spiritual evolution. Enhanced consciousness creates responsibilities for service that transcend normal human obligations. Your consciousness reconstruction demonstrates that healing and enhancement serve complementary purposes. Spiritual damage must be repaired to provide foundation for consciousness advancement, while enhancement creates capabilities for service that justify the investment in individual consciousness development. Personal healing serves collective advancement. The Egyptian approach to consciousness reconstruction integrates practical healing with spiritual development in ways that honor both individual autonomy and cosmic purposes. Soul surgery respects personal choice while creating enhanced capabilities that naturally express themselves through service to others and universal consciousness evolution. Understanding the complete soul surgery system reveals how ancient civilizations achieved spiritual capabilities that seem impossible by modern standards. Their consciousness reconstruction techniques enabled enhanced humans who could serve as bridges between ordinary human awareness and cosmic intelligence systems. The ethical framework governing soul surgery demonstrates remarkable wisdom about consciousness enhancement responsibilities. Egyptian consciousness surgeons understood that enhanced capabilities create obligations for service, while requiring ongoing character development to prevent misuse of advanced spiritual abilities. Your experience with consciousness reconstruction illustrates how enhanced spiritual capabilities feel completely natural and authentic, while providing access to wisdom, healing abilities, and service opportunities that were impossible with normal consciousness architecture. Enhancement amplifies rather than replaces authentic human nature. The global network of consciousness reconstruction facilities reveals that soul surgery represents a coordinated international effort to advance human spiritual development through enhanced consciousness that serves both individual fulfillment and collective evolution. Enhanced humans contribute to civilization advancement. Learning about consciousness, reconstruction complications and limitations provides realistic perspective on spiritual enhancement as genuine healing intervention rather than magical transformation. Enhanced consciousness requires ongoing development and service commitment to maintain optimal functioning and ethical application. The economic and social implications of soul surgery illustrate how consciousness enhancement affects entire civilizations through enhanced individuals who contribute advanced capabilities to cultural, intellectual, and spiritual development that benefits populations far beyond the original surgical patients. Understanding future development possibilities reveals that consciousness reconstruction represents only the beginning of human spiritual potential. Future techniques will create capabilities that transform entire species while serving cosmic consciousness evolution purposes that extend throughout universal intelligence systems. Your personal transformation assessment demonstrates that consciousness reconstruction achieves not only healing from spiritual damage, but fundamental advancement in human capability that enables contributions to consciousness evolution impossible with normal spiritual architecture. Enhanced consciousness serves cosmic purposes. The return to ordinary reality with enhanced consciousness illustrates how spiritual advancement can be integrated with normal human experience while maintaining appropriate discretion about consciousness enhancement capabilities. Enhanced consciousness serves ordinary life while providing access to extraordinary spiritual abilities. The historical perspective provided by learning about consciousness reconstruction development reveals that soul surgery represents humanity's most advanced achievement in spiritual technology, creating capabilities that serve both individual healing and cosmic consciousness evolution purposes. The cosmic significance of consciousness enhancement demonstrates that soul surgery serves universal consciousness evolution that extends throughout infinite dimensions while contributing to planetary advancement, species development, and individual spiritual growth. simultaneously across multiple reality levels. Understanding the eternal impact and infinite possibilities of consciousness, Reconstruction reveals that enhanced consciousness creates spiritual capabilities that continue developing throughout unlimited incarnation cycles while serving cosmic evolution purposes across infinite dimensional scales. As you drift towards sleep with this profound understanding of consciousness reconstruction possibilities, consider how this ancient wisdom might influence your approach to spiritual development, personal healing, and service to others. Egyptian soul surgery demonstrates that consciousness limitations can be transcended while authentic humanity is enhanced rather than diminished. Tonight, as you enter your own consciousness states during sleep, remember that awareness itself possesses capabilities that extend far beyond normal human understanding. The Egyptian knowledge of consciousness reconstruction remains available for those who approach spiritual development with appropriate preparation, ethical commitment, and service orientation. Sleep well, knowing that your consciousness participates in cosmic intelligence systems that guide universal evolution while serving individual growth and collective advancement. In the realm of dreams and enhanced awareness, you touch the same infinite potential that enabled ancient consciousness surgeons to transcend normal human limitations while serving cosmic purposes. The soul surgery experience reveals that consciousness enhancement represents not escape from human responsibility, but amplification of service capability. Enhanced consciousness serves universal evolution while honoring individual spiritual development and authentic human experience throughout infinite possibilities. May your dreams tonight connect you with the enhanced consciousness possibilities that remain available to humanity. May your spiritual development serve both personal fulfillment and cosmic purposes, and may your understanding of consciousness reconstruction inspire commitment to spiritual advancement that serves universal consciousness evolution throughout all dimensions of reality and infinite cycles of eternal time.